Hello, this is NDA's 83, and with me is Inge, Onar, and Aurelija Aniulyte. Please pronounce it.
My name is Aurelija Aniulyte, and I'm the spokesperson for the identitarian group in Denmark.
Yes, and we are going to have a little chat now about something rather serious, if you ask me, and that is that Martin Sellner and Brittany Pettibone has been arrested when entering the UK, England. Could you please elaborate a little bit about that, Aurelia?
Yes, certainly. The plan was that Martin should originally come to a UKIP youth organization talk, which was cancelled as a result of threats from the far left. And then he made a new plan to speak at something that's called Speaker's Corner at Hyde Park, which is a very important place, a place that historically has been available for everybody to stand up and speak, and it's a sort of symbol of democracy in England. So he announced that he would be speaking there because nobody could forbid him to talk there. And apparently, as a result of this, he was detained upon entering the UK. And as far as I know, they are being held back, and they will be forced to leave later. So he wasn't able. He was supposed to give the talk today on March 11th, and he wasn't able to because he was detained.
I also understood that Brittany Pettibone has been detained for reasoning. She was going to speak with Tommy Robinson.
Can we just tell the audience who Martin Sellner and Brittany Pettibone are?
Yes, Martin Sellner has. We have talked to him earlier in a previous TankeKrim. He is a spokesperson for Generation Identity, Austrian part, or in general,
yes,
perhaps.
He's the co-leader of Austria.
Yes, and Brittany Pettibone seems to be the girlfriend. Is that correct? The girlfriend of Martin Sellner, or at least some kind of person they know. But she was arrested for completely different reasons. It would seem she was arrested for she was supposed to talk to Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, she's an American independent journalist.
Yes. And the thing that strikes me is that, okay, I want to mention is that during the last year or so, they had made some comments that they want to ban Donald Trump from the UK, and the world, including me, has reacted with like, oh, this is funny, because it's just you can't take it seriously that someone could do such stupid things. This country could do such stupid things. But okay, now we're seeing that this is not a joke anymore. They're actually arresting people for thought crime in the UK. And I read, like, on Twitter, I read again. It's so absurd that I'm starting to laugh when the police are actually warning its citizens. For instance, just after a terrorist attack, they are warning their citizens that things you are saying could be, you could believe that what you're saying is okay, but it could for other people be offensive, and if it is offensive, you will be arrested. They're actually warning its citizens, do not use your freedom of expression to express what you're feeling, because we will get you. The examples of the Metro Police Department and other police departments warning the English citizens, do not use your freedom of expression, you will be arrested. Have you read this?
I've seen it.
I've seen something similar, yes. It's the worst thing is that I'm not really shocked. It's what I expect from a far left totalitarian regime. I expect to see this in North Korea or in Cuba or in other places. And it's just sad that we see it in a European so-called democracy like the United Kingdom.
And to that, democracy now for more than 7 years ruled by the officially Conservative Party.
Yes.
And it
That
has
is
happened.
especially shocking.
And it has happened before also with major personalities, document mentions that Geert Wilders, for example, was banned when he came to show his movie Fitna. And for example, also the American quite big radio host Michael Savage has been banned from entering UK earlier.
And when leftists comment on this, they instead of reacting with concern that people are being banned for entering the country, they cheer and are joyful as if this is something that should be natural and normal in a democracy.
I feel frightened, to be honest with you. First off, I visited England on several occasions. I used to be an Anglophile, and I like the pubs. I like the big cities. If I lived to visit, I would not want to live there, but I like to visit England. I've been there on several occasions. But now I'm actually kind of like I know I'm not the most prolific person, and I'm also anonymous. But I'm scared now to visit England, just in case someone knows something, and I'm going in with my passport, and they say, "No, you are a unperson. You're a thought criminal. You're an unperson. You should not be here. We will arrest you." And also, since I'm far less known than Martin Sellner and Brittany Pettibone, I could actually disappear. You know, I'm being a bit paranoid here, but these are paranoid times. I could actually disappear. You know, they could do that when you're treating people like this. It's Soviet-like. It's scary. We should be worried about this. That's my point. We should be worried about this.
Well, I remember what happened with Tommy Robinson just a few years back. He was arrested for, I think it was some kind of fraud claim, insurance fraud, and he was specifically targeted by radical leftists for this, and people within the government, they were out to get him, and they didn't care what they got him on, so they took him on some kind of technicality. And he was convicted for insurance fraud and sent to maximum security prison for the hardest criminals. And he was immediately attacked in there. So basically, they were trying to kill him. That was the intention, it seems. But he was able to get out of there alive. And it just shows what happens, and there are similar cases like this in America. Obama had this Dinesh D'Souza, conservative filmmaker, put into jail for a similar reason. So it was similar fraud charges, and it was because he had given more money to a candidate than was legal.
Also, I remember the Mohammed movie video posted on YouTube. I think Hillary, the Benghazi incident.
Yes,
they arrested a guy for doing something anonymously when he was
he was blamed for the Benghazi incident, even though that, of course, was on her. But the point is that he was detained and arrested for that YouTube movie, and he was held there for a long time before he was released. And so the left, they use totalitarian means, and this is what they do even when the right is in power or is almost of equal size. Imagine what would happen if they would get full control over the government. In other words, that they were able to oust the right completely. How would they behave if they had full control over the government when they behave like this, even when the conservatives are in power?
I think actually it's more a case of the politicians, both left and right, being so concerned with their own jobs and keeping up the establishments. They're not really that partial to any side, but they do use extreme left radicals as useful idiots, so they can use the threats from them as an excuse to shut down events like this. And for example, groups like Hope Not Hate, who are closely linked to the far left, but I think they're quite careful about not having the exact same people in both groups. So they are a bit more difficult to discredit, even though they have been, they do bring very dishonest articles. But they use groups such as that to support controlling free speech.
What do you think of the future for generation identity? Do you think the government will try to kind of shut you down completely there?
I think it will be a big challenge, and they have to be really careful there because in every country the identitarian movement acts a little bit differently, and that's also due to the laws, because in some countries you can say more things, and in other countries you have to be extremely careful because you could easily be banned. So I think they have to keep a close eye on that, so they don't get banned for some technicality, because they will definitely try to do that. What has happened since the beginning, actually at the very launch, they were infiltrated by some journalists. And what happens every time with the identitarian groups is that whoever infiltrates comes out with the exact same information they had coming in, because what happens behind closed doors is the same thing that you see. So that is a definite strength of the group. But of course, the job is so massive in all of UK.
Can I ask a little bit about that? My impression from talking to Martin Sellner and also just in general people from Generation Identity is that the internal self-policing is quite strong. In other words, there is a zero tolerance for racism or for anti-Semitism and things like this, and for hatred and violence. So this is my impression. So what is your experience from Denmark? How is this organized in Denmark in terms of self-policing and checking that you keep these bad elements out of your movement?
We do it similarly as well. The most important thing is that the activists who come into the group are true patriots, and they are not there because of some other ideology or hatred. So we vet people a lot for their opinions as well, because we want to work together closely, and we have to trust each other. So it's very important that everybody is on the same page.
Excellent.
I understand from Martin that the rule is more or less that people should have the opinions and speech internally as they would say on the front page of a newspaper.
Exactly.
Okay, yes. So then I understand that.
Also, I understand GI had already announced a conference or something in the mid-April, 14th of April. Is that correct? Do you think that's still on? How do you see?
Well, there are a lot of other speakers announced, so I think it will happen no matter what. But it will be interesting what UK says and what they actually can get away with Martin, if they can bar him from entry in the future, or what will happen. I do not know.
The problem here seems to be very deep within Western culture, because I'm familiar with many objectivists, followers of Ayn Rand, and even among the objectivists who are clearly, let's call them right-leaning or free market types, even among them there's a clear two-split camp between objectivists who are very skeptical of Islam and of these outside cultural influences, and the group that is sometimes referred to as obleftivists, who seem like social justice warriors and completely crazy when it comes to these topics. So even in groups that identify themselves as right wing, you have these crazy Maoist radical left-wing groups that go absolutely bananas when it comes to issues of immigration or of culture or ethnicity and stuff like that.
But if we could turn a little bit back to the main problem here, and that's that a country in Europe, one of the like democracy capitals, are doing all, and where the author of 1984 came from, they're basically now arresting people at the border for thought crime. As far as I know, at least, neither Martin Sellner or Brittany Pettibone has done anything violent or criminal. Yet they are arrested for meeting people they shouldn't. Mainly talking about Brittany Pettibone meeting Tommy Robinson, I guess. They are arresting people at the border, and okay, I'm gonna announce. We laugh at Sweden, but they don't do that. Okay, they don't have cops warning their citizens that they should keep their mouth shut.
No, but they do different things. They arrest people for releasing rape statistics.
Yeah, but okay, I'm not saying that Sweden is great, but I want to announce I think England is a far worse country to live in right now than any other country in Europe. They are not supposed to do this in a free country. They aren't behaving like, yeah, I don't know, Soviet. I don't know. It's insane. We should be angry at this.
Yes, and the worst part is that if you wrote a novel 10 years ago stating that people would be arrested in the UK for having different beliefs or political views, it would not be published because it's not a believable, it's not a credible storyline. No one would believe that, and now it's just happening. So it's not even being reported in the news. This should be big news, but because the media is so far left, they sort of implicitly agree that this is a good thing, and they don't want to report on things that they agree with.
Okay, so what can we do now as normal average people? Can we do anything about what's going on? It's because first off, if we allow this to go on in UK, then Norway will be next, and Sweden is already far ahead, and Austria and Denmark. They are going to do the same. Germany, of course.
Germany is far.
We have to do something. What can we do?
I think we're really lucky because we can do so much today that would be impossible just a few years back. We have the internet, and even though a lot of the big websites are doing a lot of censoring as well, once a personality becomes so big, as for example Martin Sellner, they cannot make him disappear because he has enough of a following that if he will find another platform, people will follow him there. So we can spread the word about what is going on, and people can make up their own minds in a way that would have been impossible in Soviet times. So that is a huge strength, and I think that is also why some European governments are reacting so hysterically and irrationally. It's because they know they're losing ground, and they don't actually know how to deal with information getting out about what is actually going on. So that is a huge strength, and normal people, everyday people can just share this information. I think this will blow up quite big because already a lot of people are talking about it in the US, especially since it's an American citizen that is also involved. I think this will be also a part of exposing their hypocrisy, because it's obvious when you look at identitarian ideas, they're not extreme. They are basically about choosing for your own people to survive in the future, and that is not a radical idea. That is the basis for society. So I think that what is happening now is also a part of waking people up.
Yes, we really need to put awareness for this, and that's why we made this video right now. We need to go out and say we disapprove of this. This is not funny anymore. It was funny when they talked about Donald Trump because he's the president of the United States. It's not funny when they arrest civilians for meeting other civilians. And journalists, they are journalists too, and I don't have a lot of respect for journalists, but some people seem to have, and so they are like holy, they're holy. Nothing should happen to journalists, and now we have at least one journalist, because if I understood correctly, Brittany Pettibone is a journalist. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, she does some independent journalism and on YouTube.
She's arrested. And she's arrested. We should be angry.
She's quite large on YouTube as a YouTube personality.
So she will clearly be able to spread the word about this through her YouTube channel. So it's
if she can get out of jail,
she will get out. They can't keep her there, but so this is going to come out, and it's going to the alternative medias are going to talk about this. So it's definitely going to come out, but like. There are really bad things going on in the UK. Just like recently, Sargon of Akkad. Well, first of all, his YouTube channel was partially banned. So that, Sargon of Akkad is a classical liberal. He's left-leaning, and he's arguing constantly with the alt-right. Like he's debating them and against them. But when he held a meeting with Yaron Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute in UK recently, the Antifa, they attacked this meeting, calling it neo-Nazi. Like we're talking about a Jewish leader of the Ayn Rand Institute. Ayn Rand was also Jewish, and these are open borders types very often. They are for open immigration, and they attack Yaron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute and Sargon of Akkad, a left-leaning liberal, for being neo-Nazi. And why? Simply for having had a conversation with people on the alt-right, not agreeing with them, but simply arguing with them. And that was a thought. That's not even a thought crime. It's a crime of association. Even the act of disagreeing with someone, the fact of not hitting them.
Yes,
in the head.
they are acknowledging the unperson, like they do in 1994.
Yes.
You're
But
not allowed.
also, I think a lot of people would say that Sargon of Akkad is not alt-right. So that's
of course
that's even worse.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
He's not that. He's very concerned about identity politics. He believes that the problems of immigration is identity politics and cultural. He's not alt-right. I'm not even sure if you could call him right wing at all, but that's up to him to decide.
I think I've heard some talks with him, and I think he is quite an extreme individualist.
Yes.
Because he's very very libertarian, I guess.
Yeah, he's a classical liberal, I would say. When we've come to this situation, that when you are slightly to the right of Mao or Stalin or Pol Pot, and that is sufficient for you to be branded as a neo-Nazi, then there's something horribly, horribly wrong. And in this case, like when I've looked into the identitarian movement, the generation identity in Europe, one of the reasons, like we invited Martin Sellner to come to Oslo for a speech, for a conference, was because we vetted the movement and found that it was completely centrist, completely bang smack in the middle, nothing extreme about it. It's like not right, not left. It's just representing the vast majority of Europeans.
And we have talked to him on TankeKrim, and if people are unaware of who he is, I think you get a good impression from watching that video.
Absolutely.
He's normal. He talks. He seems very, very articulated, and etc. etc. But okay, I think we need to stop end this video now. But the point is, we need to become aware of what is going on in the UK. It's not healthy. 2 people have been arrested for just entering. They are detained. There are 2 hashtags now: free Sellner and free Brittany. For some reason,
Free. I think
What?
it's free Pettibone.
Really, I saw free Brittany. Okay.
Okay.
Do some
Also-
research, but you need to be a little bit conscious now. It's time to start waking up a bit. It's not funny anymore. Okay, it was funny with Donald Trump. It was funny then because it's the president of the United States. You can just, haha, UK is crazy. Now it's not funny. They are arresting civilians. They're arresting journalists for entering. We should be a little bit more concerned now. It's time to wake up.
I think a very important thing that happened today as well, that at the time that Martin was supposed to go on, a group of identitarian activists, they read a statement from him and also held several speeches themselves, because the Patriots could not be stopped by banning one person. There are a lot more people, and there is a movement of activists. So if you try and take out one, there will be more. So it's an illusion that the left tried to give you, that you can be isolated and you're alone with your ideas, and it will be dangerous for you. But what is happening with a new movement like this is that we're supporting each other, and there's a lot of support from, well, all of society actually, both from left and right, who are working against this stigma. So it seems like you maybe will be isolated and punished, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who are supporting you, and they will stand next to you. So that, I think that's a very optimistic idea.
Excellent. A nice final note. Thank you all for watching us tonight. And again, if you think it's wrong that civilians are being arrested at the border, then you should start voicing this concern on Facebook, Twitter, Minds, whatever, Gab, whatever. I don't care. The point is, we need to start. And if you're a journalist of some credibility, you should probably write something about this now. It's time, right? People are being arrested. It's not funny anymore. Donald Trump, funny. This is not funny. This is serious. Okay. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.